You are listening to the Cattle Call Podcast. This is the place where computer-aided design and drafting meets humor and practicality, with a touch of business acumen thrown in for fun. Jim and Rocco, the owners of Zentech Consultants, the premier U.S. technology consulting firm for architecture, engineering, construction, and manufacturing, discuss the fascinating world of CAD with some humor and some honesty. The Cattle Call Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cattle Call Podcast with Jim and Rocco from Zentech Consultants. I am Jim, your ridiculously talkative host, and with me, as always, is my partner,
Rocco,
who don't talk so much, but that's okay, because I get him to laugh. And you know how I do that? With the engineering joke of the week. Okay, you ready, Rocco?
I'm ready.
All right. How do you know if a structural engineer is having a bad day?
How do you know?
Their stresses go through the roof. See, I made him laugh. It works. Oh, such a bad joke. All right, folks. So today, I want to talk about a concept that seems to inundate the software world and the design build technology systems out there in particular, right? And it's the concept of trying to accomplish everything conceivable inside of a single software system, or what I'm going to call for today's show, more is too much. I understand, what the software developers are shooting for here, right? From their end, the more things that you can accomplish in a single platform, the more likely you are to buy it, right? And the more comfortable you're going to be paying a higher price for it. These are businesses looking to turn profits, just like all of us are. So I absolutely understand that approach. From the user end, this all-in-one approach sounds perfectly logical, at least on the surface, right? The idea is, hey, if I can run one system instead of three, then I save time and money, right? Because I don't have to close and open programs and files, and that works out to my benefit, right? Yeah, unfortunately, that really isn't the way that all of this works. And I see a lot of people from the construction world in particular are coming to that realization. And that's what I want to hit on in today's show, right? The idea of, one software to rule them all is as terrible for industry as Sauron finding the One Ring would have been for Middle-earth. I know, sorry, folks. My inner fantasy geek comes out despite my best efforts. So Rocco, right? From your dealings with our clients on the consulting side, I mean, how many of them are coming to us because they're frustrated by the complexity of the construction management or the design systems that they have in place?
Yeah, I don't want to say that it's every day because then it makes it seem like we're dealing with a bunch of miserable and grumpy people.
Well, that's me. You work with me, so you are.
Yeah, but it does happen more often than you think. And sometimes they come to us when it's, I don't want to say too late, but when they're like on the edge of, just frustration. And so often enough.
Good enough. All right. So look, listeners to the show know that I like similes when I'm talking, right? I think it helps people visualize all the craziness that I'm rambling about here on the show. So think of it like this, right? If you need a 1-inch screw to fix something in your house, right? Do you want to run to the corner hardware store where the guy behind the counter spent 20 years as a contractor and he just hands you one? Or do you want to have to drive to Home Depot and walk through that ridiculous mega store and its aisle of 3,000 different screw types, and the only help available is an underpaid teenager who's never even held a screwdriver? And that's kind of the difference, I think, between working with these super software systems instead of using smaller, faster, easier to understand tools to address specific problems. Look, I think, one of the failings that software developers have is that, more features always means more complexity in its processes, which means more required training for your staff and more potential for errors or the inability to complete a task, right? In other words, simple as we can make this, right? The more things one system does, the harder that system becomes to use and all of the, the perceived benefits from the, the all-in-one software approach just disappear immediately. And look, if you don't believe me, I'm going to do it like this. Go ahead and ask any member of your staff who works hands-on in the big, design, CRM, ERP, estimating, construction management systems that dominate our field, and they're all going to tell you that they hate them. You've heard this, right? At work every day. They will tell you how complex it is and how many steps they have to go through to do even the most basic job required functions in those systems, right? And half of your people with these systems are cheating. They're using a pencil and paper, or they're using a simpler tool like Excel to kind of, make their way through these workflows. And then they're using the results from those hand calculations to kind of make things work in these Uber systems, right? And that's not because they're lazy or, out of touch, or even, they're old and tech resistant. It's not. It's because these guys, men and women alike, are already overworked. And the giant oversight systems make their jobs too hard to accomplish, right, with the limited hours that these people already have to spare. So, Rocco, how often does it come up for us, right, that we're recommending simplifying processes, right, even eliminating software systems to our consulting clients versus, telling them, hey, maybe get the big ERP system to handle your issues?
Yeah, oftentimes we start off our conversations with folks trying to get a grasp for what are they using and put out that concept of, we consider working with us to reduce the number of products that you're using, and simplifying, because sometimes people don't even realize all the functionality that they have within all the tools that they have, because they have so many tools.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. So look, I know I do that there are people listening right now who are getting mad at me. I get it. You guys are out there and you're thinking that these centralized systems are necessary, and that, the corporate level benefits that we're going to get here are going to outweigh any personal difficulties that a single employee may face. And look, I meet with company owners and senior execs all the time who are viscerally angry that, their people aren't effectively using these software systems, right, that they have spent so much money on. And the fun thing is that in the very next breath, these same people they complain to me about the lack of productivity and the results from those same people who, aren't making good use of the software. But nobody ever stops to ask, is there a correlation between those two problems, right? The reality is, it's going to take a ton more time and effort to get even the most basic data into these huge enterprise level systems. And when your project supers are spending, 3 to 4 hours a day, every day, fighting with overly complex software that requires 20 steps and a dozen data points to do what they used to be able to figure out on their phone's calculator in 5 seconds, yeah, their productivity is going to drop. Right? Look, don't get me wrong, folks. There is an important place for centralized data and reporting. It is vitally important, and it's an area that I spend a lot of my time working in. But the correct answer here isn't buying a giant one-size-fits-all mega software and then forcing every user in your organization to work in it. The right answer is to let your people use the most effective, the most efficient tools that they have, then having, either one or two highly skilled people in your company, or call a consultant like Zentech, right, to automate combining that data into your ERP systems for data collection and reporting. Look, asking a construction superintendent to learn about Power BI data visualizations alongside quarterly cost projections and time to finish forecasting in a giant construction management software is nuts. It's like asking the EKG tech at the hospital to perform open heart surgery for you. I mean, yeah, you can make them do it. You can yell at them and make them, but I don't think you're going to really be happy with the result of that. So I tell you what, folks, let's take a quick break here to get in a word from today's sponsor. And when we get back, I want to talk a little bit more about the why of these issues and how you can start resolving those problems. All right. So hang around, folks. We'll be back in just a minute with more of the Cattle Call Podcast. All right, Rocco. So we are sponsoring ourselves yet again today. What is it we want to talk about?
We're going to talk about me today, Jim.
No one wants to talk about you. Not even you.
Oh, fine. Let's talk about Zentek Tech Blocks.
Awesome. I like Zentek Tech Blocks. Zentek Tech Blocks are prepaid support hours that let you call on Zentek's experienced technical staff to address all your support questions, problems, help you with workflows and standards, really anything you need on the technology side. We're here to provide the support you need so that your most talented people aren't being dragged into helping everybody else in your company instead of working on the billable jobs that you need them focused on. All right. So Zentek Tech Blocks are available in multiple sizes. We sell them in 5-hour, 10-hour, 20-hour, and 40-hour prepaid support blocks. And if you're interested and you need that sort of help, Rocco, how do they reach out to us?
Yeah, hit up our website, zentekconsultants.net. Give us a ring, 866-824-4459. Or even drop us an email, sales@zentekconsultants.net.
All right, Zentek Tech Blocks, the vital support that your people need exactly at the moment that they need it. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Cattle Call Podcast. We are talking about the issues that can come along with overly complex software systems in the design build world. And one of the things that I wanted to hit on is more of it's a software development problem, right? That always seems to surprise people, right? Both on the development side and on the end users in the construction world whenever I bring this up, right? And what it is, it's the concept of coders, right? Working in a silo. And honestly, I haven't seen anybody in the software development space actively working to address this issue, right? And what happens is that for every, section or module or component or whatever of a given software, developers have a different team of people working on coding that section, right? So if you're working in a construction management system, for example, right, one team is working on the bidding system while another is working on the estimating system. And that means that data flow isn't always consistent, right? Or worse, they can be painfully repetitive, slowing down the end user. And yes, so don't get me wrong, software companies do have integration teams that make sure, the modules can talk to each other and share data at a basic level. But the workflows are almost never consistent or fully integrated. And that means that, what sound like very small things, right? Like, I have to enter the client name in each module, right? Or I have to go in and I have to change the tax rate in separate modules, right? That results in repeated work, or even worse, incorrect results, right? When you go in and you change the data in one module, but it's not automatically updating in the other module or the other section. And all too often, right, the only way that you can get those separate components to talk to each other, it's through a detailed manual synchronization process that your users in-house are going to have to go out and research and study and learn how to do. And those are the types of things that chew up all of the benefits of the big software systems right out of the gate. So, Rocco, do you talk with a lot of clients who are frustrated by kind of, I guess, the lack of interoperability between, components or modules in the same software, or, how complex it is to get them working together?
Yeah, I mean, we get asked a lot, right? Because there are a lot of applications out there, and so they're looking for compatibility, and it's important, right? I mean, we've had the folks from Autodesk on the podcast just a couple of weeks ago, right, to talk about the Esri and Autodesk integration, and how that's benefiting both companies, obviously, but more importantly, benefiting the users, because it's just making it easier, making their daily life easier. So having that interoperability is huge.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's, simple things like, integrating schedules and bids and billing and reporting. And it just, even within one software, the stuff just doesn't work together and it makes people nuts. So, I guess the answer, right, is what is the answer to this problem, right? If huge centralized systems are just too complex to give you the efficiency and the savings that you need, right? And the tiny software packages don't always speak to each other, right? And they can also cause like siloed, isolated information. How are we going to fix this? Well, I think the answer here is really automated integrations, right? And what I mean by that, it's working with the software that your people likely already know, understand, can easily work in, right? And then setting up automatic integration, data sharing, and reporting across those multiple file types. So look, I'm sure at least a few of the popes, or people listening are thinking, yeah, okay, Jim, that sounded good, but what did that text speak actually mean? And I'll tell you this via an example, right? So, 3 tools that everyone listening to this show is familiar with are Bluebeam, Excel, and Power BI, right? Now look, Bluebeam and Excel, you guys use those every single day, right? Most everybody in the construction world touches them every day, right? But almost nobody knows how to use, set up, or create reliable data in Power BI, right? It's just far outside their experience. It's nothing they've ever had to do. But with that, wouldn't it be nice, right, to have reports that showed you all of the costs, the profits, the losses, the delays, your KPIs, right, for your projects, right? Using just a simple tool like Bluebeam Review. Wouldn't you just like to go in and do that in Review, right? The thing is, though, no one looks at that because, Bluebeam can't do that, right? Most of us are going to look at the big systems like, Procore or Autodesk Construction Cloud for that type of data control, right? And that means, a lot of expense, a lot of training, and a lot of time lost trying to get those systems to function the way you need them to. And, the thing is, right, a tool as basic as Bluebeam can be configured to export all of its information, formatted the way that you need it, directly to Excel in real time, right? So I just go from Bluebeam directly to Excel. I don't even have to hit save. I can make most of that happen in real time. And then I can go in and I can edit either my Excel file or standard Excel templates to automate this so that, all of my data is automatically calculating whatever results or costs or data or tables and schedules that Bluebeam didn't automatically provide. So I'm going from Bluebeam to Excel. Excel's grabbing other data, doing calculations, getting everything you need provided. Then the Excel files can be linked directly to Power BI, right? Showing you resulting changes, right? The graphs, the charts, the dashboards, the data put into a format that everybody can understand, right? That can show you both company-wide or project-specific data in real time. The charts change as people are working in Bluebeam, right? And that all sounds complex, but like I said, it basically means that your staff goes in, they enter information in Bluebeam, and everything else just updates automatically. That's what I'm saying. Right? And that type of work, that's a true efficiency gain, right? A ton of time and money savings, and you're not laying out, $100,000 a year for an ERP system to get that kind of functionality. And that's kind of, what we're talking about and what everybody should be thinking about. So Rocco, right? How many people are go out and buy those big enterprise softwares, and then they come to us to either make that big enterprise system work for them, or to have us recommend a custom workflow, right, that uses something simpler and more affordable.
Yeah, it happens often, and the hard part is that a lot of people are forced to work within the confines of those specific software packages, right? You got to work the way that they built the software to work. You can't do it your way, and so that over time that gets frustrating. And to your point, the larger they get, and the more you restrict yourself to one, the more you're bound to that structure. and it's like you're not able to even run your own company. So
Yeah. It's tough. It's a very frustrating point for a lot of people. You spend decades building the best process that you know how to do, right? You know how to build, you know how to, run jobs. And then all of a sudden here you get a software company goes, oh, if you want to save time and money, you have to drop all that and do it our way. And that makes people nuts. So look, don't get me wrong here. Your big software systems like Procore, Construction Cloud, Dynamics 365, right? These can be really, really beneficial, but mainly for very big companies, right? Look, you're going to need with those systems, you're going to need to work with a consultant like Zentek, right? To configure those packages for you from top to bottom, right? To get even close to your workflow processes, like Rocco was just saying, right? The developer is not going to configure that for you, no matter what their salespeople tell you before you sign the check. Alternatively, right? If you're a big, general contractor, you can afford to go out and hire full-time, construction technology specialists to do all that configuration and setup and staff training in-house, right? And, because that becomes their full-time job. That's what they're paid to do. So they're not dragging, project budgets and timelines down too hard, like trying to dump this on your, your PMs and construction managers would be. But the thing is that most of us listening to this show, we work for small to medium-sized companies, right? That's like 80% of the country here. And we don't have the money for that type of a staff load, right? Especially since people with those type of, advanced context skills, right? Construction technology, those tool sets, those folks don't come cheap, right? So, the best advice I think that I can give everybody who's listening today is focus on optimizing the tools and the software that you already have, right? And work towards integrating the output from each of those systems into one cohesive, easy workflow. It's going to sound counterintuitive, but it's better to have 5 small systems that are simple to use and give you very solid, reliable results, and then make them talk to each other, rather than to go out and buy one massive, expensive, difficult to use system, right? If you do that, it's going to mean rebuilding your entire process from the ground up, right? Trying to force your construction or your design experts into becoming technology specialists just to get the same info that they were always getting for years now from those small systems. You guys see my logic here, right? Don't waste time and money trying to build yourself a rocket sled to take you to the corner store when the old bicycle you have leaning up against the steps, that works just fine, right? So there's my advice for today, folks. And with that, we're going to get out of here, and I'll let you all start thinking about whether or not you're investing wisely in the size and scope of the software that you're making your people work with and in every single day. Say goodbye to the folks, Rocco.
Goodbye, folks.
There we go. And we'll catch you next time on the Cattle Call Podcast. All right, everybody. Today's Cattle Call was brought to you courtesy of Zentek Consultants. That's Rocco and I. Zentek Consultants works with design and manufacturing firms to help our clients purchase and implement the software that they need in these complex industries. We provide a single point of contact for clients to buy, develop, and learn the most vital software systems for your specific needs. Zentek strives to be your trusted technology partner from your initial needs all the way through long-term support and training for your entire staff. So Rocco, why don't you tell them how to reach out to Zentek?
All right, yeah, you can reach out to us through zentekconsultants.net. You can email us at sales@zentekconsultants.net, or you can even call us 866-824-4459.
Excellent. We look forward to hearing from you all.